Yes, welcome to another great episode of the Ashish and Friends podcast. Today, Ryan and I are going to be talking about the Mavericks. They should have played 10 games so far, but they've only played 9. Why is that, Ryan?
There's a disease and a virus called a virus called COVID, and it afflicted about five of the members of the team. Four of them, which were starters, so that doesn't help. And for safety of all the players, they postponed the Pelicans versus the Mavericks.
Yeah, and that's a damn shame because they've been playing so well. They obviously came off a rough start, but let's be real, it was a short off season. So they also played the Clippers, Suns, and Lakers to start off the season. So going 1-2 is actually nice to start the season, to be honest.
Mhm.
But yeah, just coronavirus still continuing in 2021, and so that game's been postponed. And I feel like it's just interesting to see how the NBA deals with this because we didn't see too much of this in the bubble, right? So this is something we're going to see games being postponed. Another game that same day got postponed as well with the Celtics playing someone. And even we're talking about Dallas teams here. The Dallas Stars actually have 17 players that tested positive for COVID, and their season's about to start, and 3 games have already been postponed to start the season. So it's a very dangerous thing. Vaccine's out now, so hopefully you can get it and whatnot. But please, just a reminder, still stay precautious. I was talking to Ryan earlier. We still have to take the same precautions even with the vaccine out. So be safe. Hopefully we can see the Mavs out there soon. They're supposed to play the Hornets tomorrow, right? And that's an exciting game. Why is that? Isn't KP listed as probable out here?
Yes, sir, he is a KP resurgence.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Before we dive into that, let's talk about the past week and see what KP can bring to this team. But like we were mentioning last week, they went 3-0, right? Ever since Luka and some of the players sat out against the Bulls and took that horrible, disgusting loss against the Chicago Bulls, they've been 3-0. Luka looks freaking fantastic, right? We always complained, to start the season, he was looking a little chubby for an NBA player, for him. Obviously, still way more athletic than you and I out here. But it was a little slow start. But last week he looked phenomenal.
And to give Luca some credit too for the beginning, uh, his team wasn't playing great either. He averaged about 6 or 7 assists, but he should have counted for 13 or 14 assists. But there was 31% shooting on uncontested 3 pointers at the time. So this didn't help him in that regard. Not to say that he was at his best playing level. He wasn't, but now he's definitely stepped up. I don't know if it's just that rest at the Bulls game, the conditioning level improving for him, but now his 3 pointers went up from 20% to 31% past couple games, still playing on 38 minutes on average with an overtime game. So I think he's definitely figured out. I think his teammates are also helping him too. Trey Burke stepped up last game with about 29 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. has had 30 plus points in a couple of games. So he's definitely getting some help to take him off. They're looking real good the past couple games.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they took that nasty L against the Bulls, and nearly everyone was out. Like the starting lineup seemed out, right? It's just like the B team out there, really. And right after that, they played the Rockets, right? Someone we were looking into the Rockets. You got Harden, Christian Wood was playing really well. Luckily, the Mavs came out on top, 113-100. Like you mentioned, Tim Hardaway had 30 points in that game, which was fantastic. Willie Cauley and Josh Richardson poured in 15, and Luka had his first triple double of the season in that game. He posted 33, 16, and 11. So yeah, that was just fun to watch. It was a nice start, to start the year. And right after that, they followed it up against an overtime game. Right, they were matched up with the Nuggets. And that was just a really fun game to watch last week. It went to overtime. It was a really tough matchup, but like we talked about in the previous episode, Rick Carlisle has been tinkering with the lineup. How about you talk about that, Ryan?
Yeah, I want to give Rick Carlisle a lot of credit because after that Bulls game, he completely switched the lineup. Some people were waiting because he initially had Dwight Powell and the Dwight, Finney Smith, THJ, Tim Hardaway Jr., Luca, in the starting lineup, and he flipped it around because one of the biggest, well, there's two issues. Number one was defense, and number two was rebounding. So instead of having Dwight Powell and Tim Hardaway Jr., he put in Maxi Kleber and Willie Cauley Stein, and I think that really helped both defensively and rebounding. Also, I think Luka stepped up defensively and rebounding as well because his rebounding was kind of like 5 or 6 rebounds maybe a game, but when he came back at 16 and then like 11, 10, so he's also crashing the boards. So I think the combination of the two, having two big men there, and the fact that Maxi Kleber can rotate on the threes and fours, I think that made a big difference. And then you got THJ coming off the bench to get the offensive spurt, even with Trey Burke out at the time. So I think that worked for them.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking about the Nuggets here, like a team that went deep in the playoffs last year, right? So like it was an incredible matchup. The team started off really slow, right? You watch the first quarter, the Mavs were down quite a bit. It did not look good whatsoever. I think Luka
They
even
hung
started off a
in
little
there.
rough.
They kept hanging in there.
Yeah, I mean Josh Richardson, I think started 0-6, right? And you know they just hung in there. They slowed down the Joker quite a bit, right? That was surprising. Maybe he was just tired or whatever. But like, I want to give some credit to the Mavs big men because they did a pretty good job out there. And yeah, that game was just spectacular to watch. It went to overtime. I mean, I just loved with like 7 seconds left, the Mavs were down by one in regular time. Luka gets an inbound, you know, gets double team instantly, throws it out to Maxi Kleber for the open three, and he drains it, and you know ended up going to overtime. But just that sequence right there, right? Like you kind of expect, you know, maybe the Luka does the thing he did in the playoffs, gets the inbound shot, shoots a three, but like just the fact that he's smart enough to see like, oh, double team, we got a wide open guy that can shoot a three. I think that's a good leadership, and you have to imagine that he's quite hot that day, right? He had 38 points that night and he almost had a triple double again. He was off by one rebound. He was 38, 13, and 9. But yeah, still incredible night by Luka, and he had to carry the team for sure. But I just loved what I saw from the team that day.
And give credit to Maxi Kleber. His 3-point percentage this year is a lot higher than he has the past couple years. 47% on 3-pointers this year. Made 16 out of 34. And on to note to that, Maxi Kleber in the lineup is showing that they're scoring 133 points per 100 possessions with him. And then with Dwight Powell, it was 113. So definitely he's worked on his offensive skill in that regard. At least it's working in the offensive scheme at this point in time.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we kind of talked about this early. I just enjoy seeing Willie Cauley sign out there, getting the minutes because I think he's actually really good. He's looking really, really good on defense, right? Like even more than I expected. But yeah, grabbing those boards and he just looks better out there. And I think with him and Kleba out there, you're having a good big group out there. And I can't wait till KP comes back. But there's one last game right after the Nuggets game. We kind of got the following day. We got news saying Brunson, DFS, and Josh Richardson are going to be out against the Magic. And I was a little worried. I was like, oh no, hopefully we don't lose a easy game against the Magic, right? Even though the Magic actually started out the season quite, on a hot streak. I think they're undefeated at like 4-0 or something. They're currently 6-4, but we ended up winning that game. And it's just nice to see, like I said, a 3-game winning streak, and even, shorthanded, they pulled it off.
Yeah, you got to see the give minutes to the Josh Green and Wes Uwando, which Wes Uwando looked pretty good in that game defensively, hustling. He didn't put up many points in the stat sheet, but he definitely played a great part defensively. I don't know if he was playing his former team, the Magic, or not. But I think, these minutes are going to be valuable to have that depth, to have the experience for these young players goes a long way. But it was definitely nice seeing Luka carry a team that was missing parts and to lead that. And also, again, Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway Jr. went off and really helped them to get that win. They both had 30 points, or 29 and 30, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. So Luka had a triple double. So awesome. That's great stuff. He had a 20, 11, and 10. Then, yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr. went off 36 points, right? Trey Burke had 29 points. And like you mentioned, you give some minutes, some valuable minutes to the rotational pieces. Wes Iwundu didn't do too much, but he was good on the defensive end, and that's what he's being asked to do, right? Same with Josh Green. You see the rookie play. You kind of wish he had scored a bunch more or whatever. Like he didn't score at all. All he did was grab rebounds. But all he was asked to do was play defense. And he did play 15 minutes in an NBA game, and I think just getting those minutes is very valuable for this team going forward.
I agree.
Yeah. So it's a good game, 3-0. So now we're talking about the Hornets tomorrow. KP is listed as probable. I mean, I'm just very excited to see. Like right now, we see Luka kind of bouncing back into that, the form that we expected to see him in. And now I think it's going to take KP a couple games. He's going to have to knock some rust off and whatnot. But I'm just excited to see him out there. Well, what are you expecting from the team, and what are we expecting from the bench? Having Kleba and maybe probably Willie Cauley Stein come off the bench or something like that.
I definitely think KP brings a valuable asset on defense because he is so long. He's a rim protector. He can get those boards. I think that's valuable because he definitely improved the defense when he was on the court last year in that regard. And then also, uh, obviously, give him some time to take the rest off, get back conditioning wise and into the game, but take some pressure off of Luka, because he can be a 30-point scorer a night easily, double double kind of guy, and that'll definitely help the double teams off of Luka and the pressure off of Luka, and then like he's gonna help definitely multiple facets. You can definitely put a Willie Cauley sign or Maxi Kleber next to him too, and I think it helps actually our depth a lot because right now with the Maxi Kleber and Willie Cauley Stein in the front court, your depth is Dwight Powell coming off the bench. So if you're looking for someone defensively to help, and Boban, but if you're looking for someone defensively to help, those may not be the answers. But now if you have KP in the starting lineup, then you might have a Maxi Kleber or Willie Cauley Stein coming off the bench, and so now you have a defensive option, a rebounder that can help out. So I think that does help in that regard. I just a side note, I think Boban is doing really well in his spurts of minutes, getting that 6, 8, 10 points or whatnot in 10, 12 minutes. Very valuable too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we didn't talk about this, but against the Nuggets, he scored, I think, 12 or 15 points as well in making the most of his minutes. Like we talked about early on, you can only use him in certain situations, but it's always great to see him out on the court. He's always fun to watch. Great guy as well. But I think it's interesting that we get to play the Hornets again. Hornets, pretty decent team. We obviously took a loss to them early on in the season. Ball and Bridges just balled out against us, right? There's just no stopping them. They both had over 20 points. So I'm just interested to see this rematch and see if we can, kind of stop them and try to get W here and keep this winning streak rolling, right? And
let's do it.
Yeah, and I think you're right with KP coming back. You got like a versatile scorer who's really going to help, spread the floor a little bit right there, and obviously get those rebounds, get the blocks, right? That's something he's really good at. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we talked about early in the season, kind of like the rotation when KP comes back. I think we kind of talked about, having Richardson, Luka, probably Hardaway, and maybe either DFS at the 4 and KP at the 5, or maybe throw KP and like we talked about Willie Cauley Stein or maybe Kleba out there. But I
can see Kleba at the 4 and KP at the 5.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my only issue with that is I think Kleba's the perfect bench player because like he comes off the bench, you have a really good like big scoring on the team. Because if you're doing Kleba and KP, then on the bench you're having like what DFS and Powell, right? Like it's okay, but I feel like we'll see. Of course I think Rick's gonna take his time and tinker as well, but let's see what happens. But they'll be interesting to watch for sure. I'm very excited about this. But 5-4. I feel pretty good about it right now. Over time, the things have kind of shaken out, and the Murphy's law of averages and things evening out is happening, right? Because like we saw those first like 4 games that happened in the season, and like everyone, right? There's the Magic and Cavs like 4-0 and 3-1, and we're like, what is going on here? But like now you kind of see it in the East. You got the Celtics, Bucks, 76ers leading, right? That's kind of what we expected over there. And in the West, you've got the Lakers, Clippers, and Suns, and the Jazz. So that's like exactly kind of like what we're talking about here is kind of just averaging out. I'm just looking forward to the rest of the season here. I hope KP and Luka and the rest of the team can stay healthy because I think this is gonna be a very tough team and a very fun team to watch.
And I hope that COVID doesn't define the outcomes of this season or define this season, because that's definitely going to be a big part. Who can stay away from COVID? Who's going to miss time? Can they win games during those periods of times where people are out because of COVID protocols? So that'll be interesting to see how that affects that, because the playoff run can be a matter of 1 to 2 game difference, and those are the games where your players are out for COVID. That's huge. So it's going to be an interesting season. It's going to be a season like no other season.
Yeah, and that's totally true. And that's something, I just completely forgot about is like going into the game, if the Hornets game happens, Mavs are going to be shorthanded again, right? Like, I don't know how many players are playing, but like, I know Powell just got announced today that he has it or is, going to sit out. So I think most of these players that we talked about, the Richardson, Brunson, DFS, Powell, I mean, they could all probably not play tomorrow, and I think that'll be very interesting to watch. At least we'll see Luka and all the rotational players get a lot of minutes, and at worst case, you're just giving them minutes, and it is what it is. But I think if you bring KP out there, that's just something else to watch, and it'll be very exciting to watch for sure. All right. Any big surprises or anything from the season so far, or things you're looking forward to with the Mavs or NBA in general?
I mean, for me, I mentioned it. I think Kleber's offense and shooting percentages is what surprised me thus far. His form looks improved on his 3-point shot. His percentage has shown that it's improved. That to me is the most surprising of at least the Mavericks. Like I expected, Luka to be triple double and play like he did, and what the Mavs are doing, the fit with Josh Richardson. But that to me was most surprising. In the league, I think actually Charlotte has been the most surprising for me. I think seeing how the way that Hayward fits in, Ball's playing, that they're able to string wins together, able to have a potent offense, and then that to me has been more surprising because I wasn't expecting that from Charlotte.
Yeah, I think with Kleba, one thing we should definitely remember is like he was a pretty good 3-point shooter like last season, right? We have that image of like during the bubble. He obviously got exhausted defending Kawhi Leonard so much. It affected his offensive game for sure. And like you mentioned, I think he has taken a step up, and it's nice to see for sure. I think the Hornets for the NBA, the Hornets are definitely surprising. They look really good. I thought they're like a year or two away from being a year or two away because I thought the Gordon Hayward signing was kind of stupid, right? Like you got a lot of guards there, but they're making it work, and that's very interesting to watch. I think for me, the Magic are the most interesting, right? Like they start off super hot. They're still the 5th seed in the East, but like I don't know. I mean, you got Vucevic, you got some names there, but like your star player Jonathan Isaac's out for the whole year, right? So like
And the Fultz got injured too. Fultz is out too.
yeah, but like that's just recently. But like the fact that they were out on this hot streak without their star player, that's just shocking to me. And I mean, it's just fun to watch. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. We'll continue talking about the Mavs, and can't wait. So hey, Mavs, let's get this W tomorrow, and let's keep this thing rolling. Until next time, we are out. See ya.